Okay, let's talk about protein. If you've got kids, you hear about it all the time, right? It's treated like this nutritional superstar. We're told it's absolutely vital for their growth and development, and it is. But today, we're going to unpack a really surprising paradox that's hiding at the heart of this essential nutrient. Yeah, we've all had it drilled into us. For growing kids, more protein is always better. But what if the biggest challenge we're facing today isn't a protein deficiency, but a protein overload? It's a question that honestly just flips the entire script on what most of us have always believed. All right, so to really get to the bottom of this, we've got to start with the basics. Let's lay the groundwork. What is protein, really, and why do we call it the body's master builder? So, what are we talking about when we say protein? Well, at its core, it's a macronutrient made up of these things called amino acids. The easiest way to think about them is like Legos. They're the fundamental building blocks for pretty much everything in a kid's body. We're talking muscles, organs, their brain, you name it, protein provides the raw materials. And this isn't just a sometimes thing. Kids need this stuff constantly throughout their entire childhood. The research is super clear on this. From infancy through adolescence, kids need protein to support rapid growth, development, and immune health. I mean, they're in this period of just explosive growth, and protein is literally the fuel for that fire. For decades, pretty much the entire global health conversation about protein was focused on not getting enough of it. And for good reason, right? A lack of protein can lead to some really serious conditions, like stunting, where kids don't grow properly, and kwashiorkor. This whole history has kind of hammered home this idea that when it comes to protein, more is always better. But as we're about to find out, that might not be the whole story. Okay, so we know protein is key for preventing the bad stuff from happening, but its role is so much bigger than that. Let's move on and see how it actually works as this master architect, building not just strong bodies, but sharp minds too. Okay, check this out. This is a fact that might actually blow your mind a little. If you took a child's brain and removed all the water, what do you think is left? It's mostly protein. It is the second largest component. That tells you just how incredibly important it is for their cognitive development. We always think protein equals muscles, but man, it's just as vital for building their brains. So how does that actually work? How does a piece of chicken or a handful of beans fuel the brain? Well, it's actually a pretty cool process. A kid eats some protein and their body gets to work, breaking it down into those amino acid building blocks we talked about. Then, those little blocks are used to create neurotransmitters. You can think of neurotransmitters as the brain's text messengers. They let brain cells talk to each other. And that constant chatter, that's everything. It's learning, it's memory, it's focus. And believe me, its job description does not stop at the brain. Protein is the ultimate multitasker. It's building and repairing tissues like muscle and bone. It's forming the enzymes and hormones that run like a million different body functions. It's even creating the antibodies that build a strong immune system. I mean, it is the MVP of our biology, for sure. All right, so we firmly established that protein is a hero nutrient. No question. But this is where our story takes a really interesting twist. What happens when we get too much of a good thing? Let's dive into the surprising and honestly a little shocking science of protein excess. So just how big of a deal is this? Well, the data is kind of staggering. In a lot of developed countries, your average kid is eating 2 to 3 times the recommended daily amount of protein. Think about that. This isn't just like a little bit over the line. It's a massive surplus. And it turns out that has consequences. And this right here is the absolute core of the paradox. Logically, you'd think more protein equals more growth, right? Bigger, stronger kids. Makes sense. Well, a huge study that looked at thousands of children found the exact opposite. The data showed that a higher protein intake was actually associated with kids being shorter. I'm not kidding. For each unit increase in protein, there was a linked decrease in height. So let me just say that again because it's wild. In this study of otherwise healthy, well-fed kids, more protein was linked to shorter growth. It just completely turns what we thought we knew on its head. And the potential problems don't stop with just height. A constant protein overload puts some serious strain on a child's kidneys and liver. They're forced to work overtime all the time. It can lead to things like dehydration and digestive trouble. And get this, it can even affect their mood. High-protein diets can actually lower the brain's levels of serotonin. That's the chemical that helps us feel calm and happy, which can lead to more anxiety or irritability. And of course, where do all those extra calories from the protein go? Well, often they get stored as fat, leading to unwanted weight gain. Okay, so Given all these risks, how in the world do we find that sweet spot, the right balance? Let's get practical. This next part is all about your blueprint for getting your kids' protein intake just right. First things first, let's look at the actual targets. These are the daily recommendations, and you might be really surprised when you see them. A toddler, they only need about 13 grams a day. A preteen, maybe around 34 grams. For a lot of us, those numbers seem kind of low, right? Especially compared to what many kids are actually eating. But these are a fantastic guide to aim for. And here's the best part. Hitting these numbers doesn't mean you need to buy special protein shakes or supplements. Not at all. A balanced diet, full of high-quality stuff like meat, fish, dairy, eggs, or great plant-based options like tofu, beans, lentils, and nuts, that can easily provide everything a child needs. The goal isn't to just pile on the protein. It's about including it thoughtfully as part of a really well-rounded meal. So, what does this all boil down to? It really brings us to a simple final takeaway, which I love, the Goldilocks principle of protein. It's not about avoiding it, and it's definitely not about piling it on. It's all about finding that just right amount. And one of the key research papers we drew from for this sums it up just perfectly. It says the role of dietary protein in pediatric development is characterized by a Goldilocks principle. Both deficiency and excess carry profound long-term risks. That's it right there. The goal always is getting the amount just right. And so this really leaves us with one last big question to think about. Maybe it's time to shift our focus. Instead of obsessing over counting every single gram of protein, maybe we should be thinking bigger about cultivating a child's total protein environment. One where balance, not just more, is the ultimate goal. Definitely some food for thought.